where did the Igbos come from? Who are the Igbos? Could you explain that to me? Your own words.
Well, in my own words, I will tell you that I was a student of history,
Okay.
but we didn't discuss or go into Igbo history.
Okay.
And I'm yet to learn more. But one thing is, I was opportune to meet my grandparents, whom from childhood had always made us to understand that we are one of the lost tribes of Israel.
Okay.
So, from my grandmother,
ancestors are sitting on this table all the way back to Nigeria. All of them. My ancestors were Igbos from Nigeria, and Igbos are called black Jews,
Right? Now look at these. Y'all, I'm telling you, I gotta show y'all. A picture speaks 1,000 words. Just look for yourself. And this is the creme de la creme. All praises be to the Most High, y'all. Everything we've been through, y'all, the Most High is going to retribute it on all the nations that have had a hand in the oppression of his apple, the apple of his eye, his chosen people, his beloved, his fervent lover, his only begotten. They're going to have their part in the lake of fire. You see them tormented by some kind of creature. I don't even know what that even is, y'all. Judgment in chains. He that led into captivity shall go into captivity. All praise to the Most High, y'all. What's up, BZ Dynasty? This is your boy, the man, the myth, and the legend, Mr. JBZion. Y'all show me some love and welcome back to Zion Dynasty. Well, I'm about to hit y'all with another, oh my good banger. All praises be to the Most High. Yeah, first I want to say peace, love, blessings, and black power to my Israelite brothers and sisters. I also want to send a warm greeting to all my Gentile supporters as well. I love you guys as well. And y'all, welcome back to the channel. So I'm not going to let it be too long with the intro, you guys. This is going to be a big one in terms of history, you guys. We're going to be dealing with the Sephardic history, the Sephardic Jewish history of our forefathers, right? And when I say our forefathers, I'm talking about West African tribes, right? When you look at the Nigerians, when you look at the Yoruba, the Igbo, the Ashanti, a lot of these descendants of Lam, Negro land, all of that, a lot of these tribes have oral traditions that pit them back during the time of the Spanish Inquisition, the Spanish banishment of all of these Moors and Jews. And if you guys have done your DNA, if you've done your true ancestry or my true ancestry, you may see something that looks like this picture I'm going to put on the screen, where your results came back as Yoruba plus a word called Al-Andalus. And I know a lot of y'all were like, what is, because I know when I saw it, I was like, what is this? Al-Andalus is the Muslim term for the archaic region of Spain known as Iberia, right? So we're going to go into that history, that Sephardic history, because a lot of Igbo mention this as being a part of their history, that they have Sephardic dig sites, they have Sephardic Jews presently that live among them, and that a lot of them even say their oral tradition goes back to the Sephardic Jews. The Yoruba also have a similar oral tradition, which you guys have seen. I'm going to put that on the screen. When you look at the Jewish Encyclopedia, when it talks, before it gets into the Nigerian Jews, if you see that sentence right above, it talks about 1492. So we got to deal with this part of history that we've not been talked about. Now, as you guys may or may not know, a lot of our history in America and the Caribbeans, African Americans, and those of the diaspora begins in 1619 or the 1600s. This is when the first group of slaves were brought to Jamestown. So this is where they say our history begins in 1619. I argue that our history truly begins in the Bible, really, but 1492 is a more prolific indicator of when we came on the scene. Because in 1492, you have these Negro, Moorish Israelites that were chucked out of Spain. Henry Gratz, the Jewish scholar, estimates somewhere between 400 to 800,000. That is just from this migration. Keep in mind, this is 1492. In AD 70, which was a couple hundred years before that, You had over 1 million Jews going to Africa then. So y'all gotta understand, Africa today is primarily Israelite. I'm telling you. I'm telling you. Now, I know it's a big statement. You've had so many subsequent migrations of Israelites into that continent that it is ridiculous. But in this video, we're going to focus on the Sephardic Spanish history of our people. So let's get with it. So as you guys know, I've already mentioned in my historical definition of the word Negro video that the word Negro is Spanish in origin, that did not come on the scene until around 1555. So you guys, when we call ourselves Negro, which is an older term, you don't really hear it today. You might hear black. You know, they call ourselves a color now. I'm black. What's your ethnicity? I'm black. So now y'all see this shirt I got on, right? That's black. You know what I'm saying? Now you see my skin. So let me give you guys an example of how history can be lost, right? Let's say that I have a pizza shop in New York where I specialize in the deep dish, this deep dish pizza that I call the JBZion, right? And let's say that everybody that eats that deep dish pizza from my pizzeria, they call it the JBZion, right? Oh, I had me a JBZion. So let's say 10 years later, people say, oh yeah, I had me a Zion sandwich, right? And then 10 years after that, everybody on the street that has had any pizza just says, oh, this is a Zion sandwich, right? When it started out, I know that was a horrible example. When it started out as coming from a specific pizzeria, this is how history can be lost, right? The word black is a color, a Crayola color. But the argument that a lot of people will make is when you look at the word Negro, that it is Spanish and even Latin for Niger or Negro, meaning black. And they say, well, JB, what's wrong with black then if Negro mean black, but it's just in Spanish? Because one has a historical context connected to it, just like the word Moor. The word Moor means dark as well, but it puts you back in a time period where Africans ruled from 711 to 1492. It puts you in a context of a specific people, African people, a history they can go back to, a time of rulership. It gives you a cultural connotation, right? So when you just say black, there is no history attached to black. Negro, just from it being Spanish, does put you in a Spanish mindset. And it does have a wink, wink, hint, hint secret to it with regard to African Americans and us being the Sephardic or Spanish Jewish descendants, which I can prove. So let's start with it, you guys. So Negro or Spanish history this is going to set up the stage for when we talk about the Moors. Are we truly Moors? Is that our true ethnicity and that kind of thing? We're going to deal with that, and we're going to deal with Islam, and is that the black man's religion? So my thesis is that African Americans descend from the Moorish Israelite exiles of Al-Andalus, which is the Muslim word for Iberia or Spain, right? So now let's go into some of these migration patterns into Africa just to show you how these Jews got into Africa, how they got into Spain, right? So you've had three major waves of African Jewish migration that we're going to deal with. The Assyrians around 722, when the Assyrians conquered the northern kingdom, they took them into slavery. But when they failed, when the Assyrians fell to Babylon, a lot of these 10 northern kingdom tribes fled into Africa. Now we're going to show you a map by Derek Lang, the anthropologist, that proposes that migration route. He shows you how some Arab Israelites, you got some Eastern, you got them migrating through Ethiopia, you got a lot going on. You also have an arrow that goes to the Fezzan region, which is what we're going to deal with. So when our forefathers left because the Assyrians fell, they went into Africa, Northeast Africa, right? And it became the Maghreb region, going all the way down or all the way westward to Mauritania. So that entire northern coast of Africa, the Maghreb, which includes Mauritania, Morocco, Algeria, Libya, all of this was called the Maghreb. And this was first settled by people that you might hear referred to as Berbers, right? Or Amazigh people, which just means freemen, right? And I'm going to go into some David Nasi teaching, how David and the word Nasi also carried a connotation of freemen. And you had these people in North Africa. Now this is where you get into Abraham Ha'afrati and Daya and that kind of thing. But these were Berbers. These were Amazigh, Ephraimite. Now when I say Ephraimite, you guys, I'm not just talking about the tribe of Ephraim. I'm talking about the northern kingdom that when Assyria fell, these 10 lost tribes, so-called, went into Africa and settled North Africa, which also included ancient Spain or Iberia, or at least the southern half of it, right? So the southern half of Spain was first inhabited, Al-Andalus, by these Ephraimite 10 tribes that left, right? That left when Assyria fell. Okay? So now you also have the Babylonian group of Israelites. Now Babylon had made some agreement, I think, to send certain amount of the royal families of David, some of these Ephrati families, over to Spain. So you have Assyrian Yoruba, King Jeroboam, Assyrian exile Israelites that went into North Africa and Spain. And you also have, right, Babylonian Israelite families, royal families that were taken into Spain via the Maghreb or directly to Spain. So you have all this action of Israelites going into Africa through the Maghreb and settling Spain. Now this happened in antiquity. This happened circa 700 BC, right? So you have all this going on, and you also have the Roman deportation or exile of these Israelites. When the temple fell in AD 70, now this is 1,000 or so years later, when you have the temple destroyed in 70 AD, you had over 1 million Israelites flee into the continent of Africa. A lot of them went through the Ethiopia southern route, like the Limba and that kind of thing. But some of them just went through the northern route and came back to the western region, right? This is documented by Josephus, by Dr. Windsor, Rudolph Windsor, and Babylon and Timbuktu. It's a lot of scholars that talk about this migration. So these 3 major waves of Israelites going into Africa, you guys need to get that. The Assyrians, the Babylonian, and the Roman deportation. These 3 waves created an African Judean presence, right? So that's going to set the stage for when we go into the Sephardic history. So you have this northeastern region of Africa, this northern region of Africa that is straight indigenous Israelites, you guys. They have become indigenized. They were Israelites. So what happens is, in 711, now this is where we get into the Moorish Empire. In 711, you have these Moors conquer the entirety of the Iberian Peninsula, right? They were led by a man by the name of Tariq ibn Zayed. Now we have to go into who are these Moors? These Moors, well, I heard about Moors. There were these black guys that, man, they ruled for 711 to 1492. Man, they don't tell us about this history that we were Moors. Let's talk about these Moors. Some people identify Moors with the religion of Islam. This is 2 separate things. You have the Moors, the people, the African people, and then you have the Moorish Muslims. You have the Arabicized Berber Moors, right? So I know that's kind of confusing, guys. But not all Moors practiced Islam. You had Ephraimite Moors that were the indigenous Amazigh people that kept Torah. Judaism is the oldest religion of Africa. But you had a lot of Islamicized, Arabicized Berber Moors that came and teamed up with the rest of these indigenous Afriat people, and they conquered Spain. Now they had already had a stronghold in Granada, where a lot of these Jewish people lived in Granada and Jewstown and Albayacin and that kind of thing, and Seville. And a lot of these royal families were already there. But when the Moors came under this leader, this Umayyad Berber militant leader, they took over Spain. So they ruled Africa, they had Spain, and they had the Middle East on lock. The Christian remnant, right, were these European Edomite people that practiced Roman Catholicism. They had the northern region. They had northern, where you got Europe, where you got France, and the top of Spain. The northern region of Spain was under Christian hands. So for the next 1,000 years or so, you have this battle between the southern Moorish Jews and Moorish Muslims. You have them fighting to maintain their power against these northern Edomite European Christians, right? This is the Moorish history in a nutshell, you guys, right? So you have this guy, you have Tariq al-Zayd, the Umayyad leader that conquers, that leads these Moors into Spain to gain the predominant power, right? These were Israelites by ethnicity. Ethnicity speaking, these were Israelites. You had a lot that were Islamic, and you had a lot that practiced Torah. They had a healthy symbiotic relationship, right? Where the Muslims pretty much called the shots since they led the whole war initiative. But they respected the Israelites, specifically those that could prove their ethnicity going back to the people of the book, or the David family. This group were called the Nasi, or the Nagid, or those exarch rulers for their people. The Islamic Muslims respected them. They said, oh man, they had certain privileges, they had certain respect for them, they had certain positions of power, right? So during this dark age, or this Iberian Spain age, where you have these black people ruling that were for the most part Israelite by ethnicity, but some of them practiced Islam. During this time, the European Christians are working to regain control, right? Now this is where the Jews come in. The Jews were crafty, they were brilliant, and a lot of those northern Christians used some of these Jews for financiers, like the Abarbanels, Isaac Abarbanel, and that kind of thing. And they worked together until eventually, when the Inquisition happens, they start just taking out these Israelites, right? So before we go into that history, we're going to talk about Islam briefly. So Islam is an African religion. I want you guys to understand. Islam is an indigenous African religion. It started in Northeast Africa or around Arabia, and it was the predominant controlling religion during the Moorish Empire. So a lot of black people have this fantasy about Islam, but it is rooted in history. Islam is the black man's religion, or you could say that, right? It is not our original religion in terms of Israelites. Our heritage is Torah. But during this period of the Moors, the Jews and Moors of Spain, a lot of our people converted to that Islam. I'm not going to bash it entirely. A lot of our people converted to Islam, a lot to escape persecution. And then you had a lot of Israelites that just got Arabicized by Islam, right? Because when you look at the Quran, it doesn't bash the children of the book. They have certain respect for that people. And the Quran admonishes these Israelites to remember Moses and that kind of thing. So this is where you see the confusion. That's why the Most High told us that we will worship gods that our forefathers had not known, wood and stone. Because Christianity has an illusion of truth to it because it draws from our history. And Islam in its Quran has a illusion of praising the people of the book. So our people got caught up into these two major ideologies, which these are not our fundamental beliefs, right? This is not our heritage. Our heritage is the law, statutes, and commandments, the Torah, right? So these Moorish Israelites that practiced Islam, they eventually had tension between the Jews that didn't. I mean, the Jews that kept Torah, there was beef between those that practiced Islam, to the point that they would have our people, the ones that were practicing Torah, living in ghettos. That's where you first see the term ghetto, is during this Spanish Sephardic history. This is why they call our places ghettos, where they pit black folks in America. This comes because they know our history as being the Sephardic Israelites, right? So a lot of the southern region of Spain, Toledo, Seville, Granada, this is where a lot of the Jews stayed at. Granada was like Jews town. That's where all Jews, so if you do your My True Ancestry and you see Granada, it's because you're linked to these Sephardic Israelites, right? So now what we're going to do, guys, is we're going to look at this period of the Jews and Moors in Spain and their fight to maintain power from the Christian north. Now, The first source we're going to look at is Scattered Nation. Now, you guys, I had a copy of this book that that was in Harvard Library, that was from Harvard. I can't find it, so I found the online version. I think it's from the University of Michigan. But in this source, it talks about a lot of these Jews and how long they had been in Spain. Now, as we talked about, they had already, from the exile or the fall of the Assyrians, settled in North Africa, settled in Iberia. But during the time of the Babylonians is when we see another wave come in. So it reads that if we can believe it, that a king of Spain who had assisted Nebuchadnezzar in reducing Jerusalem brought an enormous population into Spain, all from either the family of David or at least from the tribe of Judah. So either from that Ephrati David family or at least from the tribe of Judah, and that the royal family resided first in Seville, then in Granada. Granada became Jewstown. Adding that the exiles afterwards had their numbers greatly increased by fugitives from the desolation of the Second Temple. So you had these fugitives that end up, these exiles that end up in Spain, and their numbers were greatly increased through the fall of the Second Temple, or the fall of Jerusalem in AD 70, you guys. So that's our first source we're going to look at. So now you have these royal families, these Davidic families. This is where you get into the Ibn Dawid family. Now let me give you guys one source of that. So now when you look at, say, the Book of Tradition, now the Sefer HaKabbalah by Abraham Ibn Dawid, a lot of that originated in Morocco. All right, Morocco is Africa, just to remind you guys. So these Moroccan Israelites, a lot of them descend from this David family. So you might see the Ibn Dawids in Morocco. So now this is letting you know that in Spain, Morocco and Spain right next to each other, in Spain you had this Ibn Dawid family. You had a lot of branches out of that David family that included the Yahya Negro family. That's why we're called Negroes. We descend from Yahya Negro, which had 1,000 offshoots. The Abarbanels, the Nazis, there were a lot involved in that David family, a lot of offshoots that went into Morocco that became the Negroes today. All right. So you had all these royal families that lived in Spain during this period in time. And our people dominated, y'all. We excelled in math and science and medicine and astronomy, astrology, philosophy, the arts, debate. Like we had certain Israelites that all they did was create creative ways to defend Torah, specifically from these Edomite Christians and is from the Ishmael Muslims, right? So our people excelled to the point that the Muslims wanted us on their side, and you also had the Christians in the north that used certain Negroes, like Yahya Negro, to go to war against a certain population of Moors, which our people have been doing this stuff for a long time. I ain't even gonna get into that. So I think the king of Portugal used Yahya Negro to clear out some Moors, and he gave him a certain farm village in return for that. The village of the blacks are Yahya Negro. So Yahya Negro, you got the Abarbanels, you have the Dawid family. All of these are royal families that lived in Spain and also occupied Morocco, and these were black Sephardic Israelites. There's so many sources, you guys, that say that the Sephardic Israelites were dark. These Portuguese were dark. These Portuguese Jews were black, you guys. Let me show you guys a book on that. So in the textbook of the origin of the history of the colored people, right, on the very last page, I'm gonna put that on the screen for you guys. Check this out. It says the Portuguese who planted themselves on the coast of Africa a few centuries ago have been succeeded by descendants blacker than Africans. These Portuguese Jews were blacker than Africans. Number two, a stronger case still is to be found in the fact that the descendants of a colony of Jews originally from Judea to the coast of Africa are black. All praises be to the Most High Yah. So you have these black Portuguese, as they were called. They were pitch black. They were Jews originally from Judea that came at the fall of the first temple, the second temple, some from even before that when you got the fall of the Assyrians, that were living in Spain. All praises be to the Most High Yah. So our people had a certain monopoly, if you will, financially. We knew how to work money. We knew how to work business. So you guys, our people were money wizards. We knew how to manage money. We knew how to do business. We were intellectual. We knew how to blend in. Our people would act like Christians to be able to survive in the north and gain positions of power. We were a fluid, intellectually savvy people, right? We had a lot of wisdom that we operated in. And we also had a lot of pride in our ancestry. And let me show you one of the sources by Henry Gratz. So in Henry Gratz's History of the Jews, Volume 3, we see that it says pride of ancestry, which was a characteristic of the Jews of this country as of the other Spaniards, were not content with the fact that the Jewish colony in Spain had possessed the right of citizenship long before the Visigoths, right, who had ruled Spain, and other Germanic tribes, yeah, look at that, had set their tyrannous iron foot in the land, but desired to lay claim to even the higher antiquity for it. The Spanish Jews maintained that they had been transported there after the destruction of the temple by the Babylonian conqueror Nebuchadnezzar. Certain Jewish families, the Ibn Dawids and the Abarbanels, boasted descent from the royal house of David and maintained that their ancestors had been settled since time immemorial, partly in the district of Lucena and partly in the environs of Toledo and Spain. The numerous Spanish Jewish family of Nasi also traced back its pedigree to King David and proved it by means of a genealogical table and seals. All praises be to the Most High Yah. Our people could prove their history. Our people were proud of our history, right? And this is where we see a setup, a downfall. Okay, now I'm not saying that it's because of our knowledge of our history and all these kind of things that led to the downfall, but the more and more our ancestors practiced openly our faith and secretly practiced it and became higher in society, the Christian North in particular became envious, you guys. They feared that these black Jews were going to take over Europe. Now the Moors had already recaptured Spain, but over time you see the Christian North coming slightly down more and more and taking back that territory. And there was a war between the southern Moorish Israelites and the northern Edomite Christians. This stuff is powerful, y'all. So what happens is Seville starts something known as the Inquisition. And this, my friends, is why. Y'all gotta hear me. Y'all gotta hear me. Any black person that calls themselves a Christian, I understand it might be in ignorance, but when I show you this history of why the Christian church was set up, you will understand why a lot of Israelites are so adamantly against modern Christianity that is fueled by these Edomite descendants, because these Edomite Christians waged war, a holy war against Jews that practiced the heritage of their forefathers by keeping the laws, statutes, and commandments, and we're about to deal with it. Let's get it. So as we see in this book entitled Seville, Cordoba, and Granada, A Cultural History, we see that it is tempting to trace some of the fervor of Holy Week back to the fanaticism of the Spanish Inquisition, which was founded in Seville in 1481. Seville was where a lot of our Israelite ancestors were at. The Christians started something known as the Inquisition. This was a way to investigate if any Jews practiced Judaism secretly, because you had a lot of Israelites, our people, that blended in, that talked the talk of Christians, that knew the Christian doctrine better than Christians, and we were gaining positions of power in the north. And they said, we need to go down and spy out and find all these secret Jews, and we're going to wage a holy war against them. And when I tell y'all it was gruesome, it was gruesome. You guys, let me show you a witness against these things. So we have The Jews and the Moors of Spain by Joseph Christoph. This, I found a copy that was in the Harvard Library, you guys. This is credibility. In this book, I'm going to put some pictures on the screen. We see that it was illegal to name your kids Hebrew names, to secretly keep the Sabbath. Y'all gonna think this stuff is crazy. To keep the Sabbath, to refrain from eating pork. They investigated all these things. Now, we already talked about that these were black Israelites. And in case you guys didn't get that, I got another witness. Nature Knows No Color Line by J.A. Rogers. J.A. Rogers shows a picture of the Moors and says that these Sephardic Moors, they were Sephardic Moor Israelite Jews that were black, such as the Don Yayas or the Yaya Negro family that we discussed earlier. So you guys, we see that the Christian church waged a holy war against Israelites, and it was bad, you guys. They banished some of the children off to the west coast of Africa. They killed the parents. Some of the parents would take their babies, understand what I'm saying, and rip their babies apart or throw them into wells to keep the Christians from getting their children and raising them to be natural slaves or in the Christian religion. This is the history they don't want us to talk about, y'all. This is all in The Jews. Y'all get this book now. The Jews and the Moors of Spain talks about this history. It says that a lot of these Israelites were banished to Sao Tome. Where's Sao Tome? Off the west coast of Africa. Look it up. I will put the map up. You guys look that up. Sao Tome is a West African small island. This was right off the coast of Nigeria, and this is where a lot of these orphans ended up in Nigeria. They were banished out of Spain. They were taking their children, sending them out the country, or they were taking their children, raising them to be Christians. They were killing the parents. On Sunday worship, because our people kept the Sabbath, on Sunday worship, they would take families of Israelites and burn them during the church service, and all these Edomite Christians would be praising Jesus. Y'all better hear me what I'm saying now. History has repeated itself, and Christianity has always been at odds against our people. I am not talking about the Bible. I'm talking about the Christianity that y'all already know, with Easter baskets, bunnies, Christmas trees, and whoop-de-whoop. That stuff was designed to oppress our people and to keep our people from keeping their history and heritage. That is the law, statutes, and commandments. Y'all check the book out, right? And in J.A. Rogers' books, we see that these were black Moorish Israelites. We've already established that. Also, you guys, if you look at the book, I'm going to pull them all out. Light and Truth, right? In Light and Truth, we see the definition of Moor. And we see Moorish Judeans is a part of the definition. I'm going to put it on the screen. The word Moor, if you look on my true ancestry, if you Google search it, means dark. It means the dwellers of North Africa. These African Berber Ephraimites. Some of them were Islamic. Some of them practiced Muslims, or were practicing Muslims. And some of them practiced Torah. But ethnically speaking, these were Israelite Africans, or Ephraim. Israelite people, whatever you want to call it. These black Moorish Israelites, right, were under attack by the Christian North. And if they found out that you were not a Christian, they would put you to death or try to give you an opportunity to convert. Now, our people were smart. They started acting like Christians. That's why they did secret investigations. This stuff is crazy, y'all. During the Inquisition, to secretly determine, okay, is he really a Christian? Does he really believe that Christ was immaculate? Does he really believe that Christ was white? Or does he serve a black Messiah and believe in a kingdom for his people? Y'all better talk to me now. They were going to war against that. This is the same battle that's going on today, y'all. Y'all better hear me today. There is a war against Israelites coming back on the scene. Understand, Israel in power and Esau in power cannot both coexist. For one to be on top, the other one has to be on the bottom. This is the law that the Most High set into play. He told Rebekah that 2 manner of nations are within your womb. and one shall be the servant of the other. The older shall serve the younger. This is destiny, you guys. When our people rise, it means the nations fall. And this tends to be Edomite Europeans. And this is the war that was going on during the Moorish time, the Moorish Empire. You have these Moorish Ephraim, these Moorish Islamic Israelites that were waging war to gain control of Spain against the European North, the Christian North. And y'all check this out. During the time of the Moors, you had lighted cities, streets that looked like they were paved with gold because they had street lights. They had public libraries. They had public baths. Now, while the Moors were ruling, Europe, they didn't have no lights. They didn't have libraries. And some of these Europeans only bathed about once a year. They were in the Dark Ages. When the Moors ruled, we excelled in science, we excelled in medicine, we excelled in astrology, astronomy, philosophy, debate, hermeneutics. All of this were Moorish Israelites. All praises be to the Most High Yah. And when I tell you history gonna repeat itself, our people, Zion, we gonna rule this earth once again. I'm gonna tell y'all, Jack. And that is the gospel of the kingdom for the 12 tribes of the diaspora, of the seed of Jacob, of the seed of Zion. Y'all better hear me today. All praises be to the Most High Yah. So, you have this battle going on. And eventually, King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella of Spain gained dominance. To the point that Jews were only left in Granada. Moors were only left in Granada, right? And after they had these different alliances, the King of Portugal, the Queen of Spain, you had a lot of these arranged marriages and these collaborative efforts from Europe teaming up with the European church and different marriages to gain enough power to force these Moors deeper into Africa. And that's what happened, you guys. And to 1492, when our people were banished utterly from Spain and sent into North Africa, i.e. Morocco. Is this substantiated? Let's see what Henry Gratz got to say. So Henry Gratz, in his History of the Jews, Volume 4, we see that the northern coast of Africa and the inhabitable regions inland were full of Jews of Spanish descent. All praises. He even estimates that there were over 400 to 800,000 Israelites that went into Morocco. Now, what the Jewish people are going to try to tell you is that they had a certain airlift where they took 350,000 of these Moroccan black Berber Israelites and took them to the land of Israel. We know that did not happen. Or they did something like they took a small portion like they did the Beta Israel and persecute them folks and have them living in ghettos in Israel. They don't want to talk about that. So you had all these Israelites that went into Africa, y'all, through Morocco. All right? Let's see what else was going on. So you have all of these Jews fleeing into the northern coast of Africa, right? But it didn't stop there. There were certain papal bulls that were set up to go find these black Portuguese, these Jews. After they banished them, after some of them gained enough money to get ships to be able to go to Africa themselves, after some were banished to Sao Tome, some to the Canary Islands, all of this is Africa. They said, wait, a lot of the money and a lot of the business was linked to these black niggas, these black Moors. And there was a change of heart. And you had King Manuel of one of the people that said, we're going to go get them jokers. We're going to get these Lancados, because they also sent some of them that were Christian Israelites to go change all these other Israelites that was in the continent of Africa. Y'all, it was a bunch of madness going on. But even with that going on, we see something darker taking place. Seville became the licensed center for the slave trade. Let's look at it, you guys. So according to Cambridge, after the licenses of Ehinger and Sailor expired, a new period began, lasting from 1532 to 1589. This fills in the history of our history. They say it started in 1619. It started late 1400s, 1500s, where Spain had kicked out all these black Jews, and now they were issuing licenses to Europeans, Christopher Columbus, all these folks to come find our black behinds in Africa and send us to America. That's the secret history that they ain't talking about. Let's look at that thing, y'all. All praises. So from 1532 to 1589, during which the merchants and officials of Seville, members of the Consulado and the Casa de Contratación, regulated the slave trade. Seville, Spain, and Portugal had a monopoly on the slave trade. That's why Negro is a Spanish word. You had to get a license from these people to get our forefathers all praises. So let's go a brief summary of what we've talked about, you guys. So we've talked about how the Moors, these Israelites, some of them practiced Islam, a lot of them practiced Torah, teamed up and conquered the Iberian Peninsula. During this time, you had a golden age of Jewry. You had our people excelling in math and science and literature and all these things, right? The Christian Edomite North slowly regrouped. They came together with the backing of the Roman Catholic Church to investigate secret Jews, to persecute Jews and Moors, to gain military backing, to push these Moors lower into Spain. And eventually our people got banished out of Spain into Morocco. And this is where we're going to pick up with the oral tradition of these West African tribes and show how they have the exact oral tradition of coming from Morocco, the Yoruba, of coming from Morocco and being Sephardic Jews that were banished in 1492. Y'all, when I tell y'all, see how monumental this history is? It's a lot to cover. I know this is going to be a long one, you guys. I hope you guys can bear with it. I'm gonna try to chop it up and do little follow-up piggyback segments. But it's a lot of history, you guys. So before these urban polished crazy niggas start thinking they disproving something, you're going to have to deal with all this history. So now, y'all, we're going to look at the West African oral traditions. I've already showed you guys the science. I might show that in here as well. The E1B1A, the My True Ancestry, and all that stuff. So with that, y'all, peace, love, blessings, and black power to the chosen race of the Most High. I love you all with the love of the Messiah, even the Most High. Yeah, Ashe, yeah, shalom. All praises.